Do you really need a beginner motorcycle? This was my first bike, a 2022 Triumph Bobber 1200 cc's. I'm sure most people would agree that 1200 cc's isn't necessarily the best starting point for a beginner bike. But I kind of wanted to get something a little bit beefier for my first bike, despite, you know, kind of straying away from the traditional like beginner bike line of bikes. Whenever you think of a beginner bike, what you're thinking of is like power, like the cc's. Something like a Royal Enfield, you know, 650 cc's, that is like a traditional classics beginner bike. Super safe, can't get you in trouble, you know, that's the whole logic. But I think there's something to be said about just getting something that you like. You know, that's the whole point of having like a motorcycle, is getting a machine that you're gonna really connect with and really love owning and riding around. So slightly against my better judgment, I got the Triumph Bobber with the 1200cc power range on it. And like I said, I already liked everything else about the Bobber. The only thing I was skeptical on was that power range. Like it definitely is a little bit, you know, worrisome getting a 1200cc motorcycle for your first bike when everyone is telling you that you should get a beginner bike, you know, something less in the power range that is less risky, less powerful, it'll get you into less trouble. So with all that being said, do you really need a beginner motorcycle as a new rider? Do you need a beginner bike? A quick search on Google says that it's recommended to get a beginner bike to learn core skills without being overwhelmed by excessive power, weight, or price. So the logic goes, less power equals less risk. That's kind of the thinking, like you have less power, so you're more limited, therefore you can't get yourself into trouble on a less powerful motorcycle. How you ride makes it dangerous. You can still speed and still get into really bad accidents on a beginner motorcycle. What it really comes down to is how you manage your risk, self-control on the bike that makes it dangerous or not. I stalled! Second point Google brought up, weight, less weight. The logic is, you know, the lighter it is, the easier it is to control. That one, hard agree. But where it's different is, you know, some beginner motorcycles are almost the exact same weight as a bike that isn't necessarily a beginner motorcycle. My motorcycle, the Triumph Bobber, comes in at 553 pounds. Beginner motorcycle, like the one I rode with Carl in my last episode of Bike Swap, click right here if you haven't seen it. His bike, which is definitely a beginner motorcycle at 650 cc's, is 480 pounds. Triumph Bobber isn't that much heavier than the Royal Enfield Interceptor, which I would consider a beginner motorcycle. The other argument is the cost. Of course, beginner bikes typically cost a little bit less. There is, like, the logic is, you know, if you get your dream bike first, you're gonna drop it and mess it up. And you should probably practice with the bike you don't care about to get those, you know, damages out the way, and then get the bike you really want. That way, you know, it's pristine the entire time. But your bike's never gonna stay perfect, and I don't think it should stay perfect. Your bike was meant to be ridden, your bike was meant to have character on it, and I think that bond with you and your machine, I don't think it should be necessarily like pristine the entire time. Also, I think there is definitely a financial consideration with, you know, getting a beginner motorcycle, because if you're getting a bike that you know you're gonna have to upgrade from, you're automatically putting yourself in a position to where you're gonna buy two bikes. I think, at least for me, I knew I didn't want to buy two bikes. I wanted to buy one bike that I could have forever pretty much and never feel like I needed to get rid of it. So for me, that Triumph Bobber checked all those boxes. I think my main point, what I'm getting at, is value versus safety. So here's what actually matters. Power is definitely up there in terms of what to consider when getting a first bike. But that being said, not enough power means you're probably gonna wanna upgrade your bike, which means you're gonna end up buying two bikes. Again, that's just more money to spend. However, if you go and swing the other way, way too much power, like if you just go and buy an H2 Hayabusa, that is gonna be truly dangerous. You wanna hit that sweet Goldilocks zone like what I have right here with the Triumph Bobber. 1200 cc's, especially with the tuning that it has. It doesn't really have like a super high top speed, but it just has fun torque. So this meets right in the middle. It has enough power to where I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I have never had the thought that I want to upgrade my bike for the power. I got this bike and I don't have to buy another one if I don't want to. Another one that's super important, at least in my opinion again, is weight and balance. So most beginner bikes, they are usually smaller and lighter, and that's what makes them good beginner bikes. A lighter bike and a smaller bike is easier to recover, so that way you don't drop it, and you know, it's just easier to control overall. But again, like I said earlier, this 1200cc bobber is not even 100 pounds heavier than a traditional beginner bike, a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. There's definitely something to be said about, you know, finding what you like and finding that middle ground between value and safety, the things that you truly value and what is actually safe for you to ride. Another really important one is overall comfort and like positioning of the bike, you know, like seat height, how tall the actual bike is, where your hands are actually like placed on the bike. The reason why that's really important is to, you know, basically get a seating position that makes you feel really confident on the bike. And I'm not talking about like confidence as in like you're gonna go really fast, you feel like, you know, you own the road. I'm talking more confidence in that you can control it. If you have a seating position that's super uncomfortable, you're gonna get tired quicker, you're gonna lose focus on actually riding, and you're gonna be more focused on like how uncomfortable you are on the bike. And it might also be a little bit harder for you to control if you're not comfortable with that positioning. Again, it just keeps going back to finding that through line between value and safety. Get what you actually want, but with the caveat of make sure that you're comfortable on that bike. That way you can control it easier. And the last thing that I think that really matters a lot is looks and your overall connection to the motorcycle. I've said it several times on this channel before, but I think looks are way more important than you think they are when you're choosing a motorcycle. If you're not in love with the way it looks, you're not gonna wanna ride it, you're not gonna wanna take care of it, and you're probably not gonna treat it with the respect that it deserves. If you're getting a beginner bike just for the sake of getting a beginner bike and you don't love the way that it looks, I promise you, you're gonna wanna sell it, you're not gonna ride it, and you're gonna wanna buy what you actually want. So in my opinion, I think it's just better to, you know, get something that you truly love and that you're really gonna take care of and enjoy riding and treat with respect, and get that bike, get the bike that you're gonna love to ride. So yeah, that's my take on if you really need a beginner motorcycle or not. I personally think that you should get what you're comfortable on, get what you're confident on, get something you love, and most importantly, get a bike that you're actually gonna have a connection with. Practicing self-control and risk management is what's gonna make a bike more dangerous or less dangerous. Of course, within reason. Don't swing the other way and get, you know, the fastest sport bike in the lot as your first bite, because that is swinging way outside of like what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding that little Goldilocks zone between what you value and what is actually like safe. I keep talking about it, my 2022 Triumph Bobber threads the needle perfectly, and it's not really a beginner bike, but you know, the power range isn't super crazy, top speed isn't crazy, it's small enough to control. I don't feel like I need to upgrade from it whatsoever. It's here to stay, it's a long-term bike for me. I love the way it looks, and I feel a genuine connection with this bike. And honestly, if I would have gotten a beginner bike like the Royal Enfield 650 Interceptor that I rode, I think I for sure would want to upgrade to something like the Triumph Bobber. And yeah, I think there's something to be said about balancing what you value versus what is actually safe or not. Of course, all of my opinions are mainly for my US riders. I know you guys across the pond kind of have like the license restrictions and you have to like upgrade to like different levels of bike. So you kind of don't really have a choice for you guys. But for us here in the States, we can just get a license and get whatever we want. So yeah, just balance value and safety. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point in the video, like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Just passed 500 subscribers like a week ago, so thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and continuing to support the channel. This channel is not monetized yet, so if you like what I'm doing on this channel and you want to show some support, I do have a link to a Buy Me a Coffee in the description below. Completely no pressure, but if you like what I'm doing here on this channel and you want to help me get more content out, I do have that link down below. Again, thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.